this might be a tough decision right now. My team did absolutely
NFL games that were like,
Right.
whoa.
I actually don't
Had
understand.
a lot of mixed feelings.
welcome disgruntled. We have another guest here on the Legal Domains.
No.
I'm recording.
It says this meeting is being recorded. Should I stay?
No.
It
I don't-
says I should leave meeting.
Yeah, you should leave meeting. Press the red button.
Okay, so
Bottom
thank you.
right.
Bottom
And then-
right.
Yeah, and then
You're right or my right?
You can choose whatever you want.
All right. I actually have a lot to talk about
All right.
because I mean there are a lot of things to go over since like it's the end of the year. I mean,
Mhm.
end of the regular season, and we made a lot of predictions for the season. So we can start with just this week though, week 18.
Okay.
And our overall predictions. So if you did not tune in last week, I was down in overall season predictions where you predict every game. And so on half of the games, I just did the opposite of Caleb to try and it was like a Hail Mary to try and catch up back in the rankings. So basically it was up to Caleb. Caleb decided my fate on whether or not I would end up beating him in the overall predictions. So it was his prediction game to lose,
But I won.
But
I
you
went 10-6.
Which is
And
not as
five-
good as you had been doing like the past 3 weeks, but still very respectable. And yeah, honestly, I did kind of bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were forced into picking whatever the opposite of mine was, so I didn't see you.
Yeah,
being
but even my
accurate.
disputes that I decided for myself were pretty bad. But we can go over it now.
Yeah,
Uh,
Kansas City Chiefs versus Denver Broncos. The Kansas City Chiefs almost lost to the Broncos. It was a very close game. I think it was a last second fumble recovery. I forget who did it for a touchdown by the Chiefs defense that sealed the deal. I think that
Yeah.
put them up by 3 or 4 points
I think it was Melvin
midway through the
Ingram.
fourth quarter. But that's all I really know about this.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch. Broncos. How do I describe it? It seemed like they were running the ball very well. I don't think Drew Lock is a starter quarterback by any means, but the Chiefs weren't respecting his legs enough. They gave him a lot of room to like scramble and get a first down. So Broncos in the first half at least were really successful in getting into the red zone, and that's what made this game so close is because they had a really good start, but then Chiefs started doing Chiefs things. Chiefs are probably the best team in the league for the past couple of seasons to just adapting to bad starts. They always find their way back in the game, with the one exception being Super Bowl last year, I guess. But I think Denver has a lot to look forward to. Honestly, when we look at this 7-10 record, obviously it sucks because they were like 4-0 to start the season. So obviously they went like 3-9 the rest of the way, or 3-10 actually. Dang. I mean, I just think that really comes down to coaching, obviously, and Vic Fangio was fired. And then also they just didn't have a healthy quarterback, but also neither quarterback, even if they were healthy, was going to lead this team into the playoffs. I don't think so. I think once those two things get figured out, they could be a fringe wild card spot. I think there's still things they have to sort out, and like they have a bunch of free agent like dilemmas right now as far as wide receivers go, and is Melvin Gordon going to stay? Or are they going to roll with Javonte Williams? A lot of people think Javonte Williams is the truth. So I guess that has to get figured out. Yeah, I think it really just depends on who they end up getting as a coach next year. And I don't know who their general manager is and if they're in or out. But
Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw this arc coming because when they started 3-0, I think it was against the Jets, Giants, and some other, I think Jaguars as well. And we're like, this isn't going to last. They're going to implode sooner
Yeah.
or later, or they're like a fake 3-0.
And it was the opposite for the Chiefs, which, I mean, the Chiefs at one point were bottom of the division, and now, I mean, they ended up winning it. And it wasn't like last week they ended up winning it. Like, they were so dominant at the middle point of the season that they were able to clinch division, like, before anyone else, I feel like. I think not as early as the Packers did, but earlier than most teams and most division winners. So I think that like really speaks volumes to how well the Chiefs have been playing. I actually even made a separate spreadsheet about the Chiefs. If you want to look at that.
Why did you do this? This is so
Because
in-depth.
I was wondering if this Chiefs team was good enough to, you know, take it all the way and win the Super Bowl. And I mean, from looking at just like the years by themselves, it looks like this team is not as good as the past two teams. But then when you look at how well they've been doing from November to January, I think like this is probably the best version of the Chiefs we've seen ever. Probably. I mean, like playoff run Chiefs in 2019 was really good. But as far as like the regular season goes, this might be like the best version of the Chiefs because like during their regular season run last year, like they were good. They were putting up a lot of points. That was probably the most effective their offense ever was, but their defense was like not doing well. And I think this is the best the defense has looked in a while, aside from like letting the early start happen from the Broncos. I think from November to January, this Chiefs team has been really dominant. Like obviously they got off to that 3-4 start September and October. That was terrible. But ever since they've looked basically flawless, aside from their one loss to the Bengals. So yeah, I think they can take it all the way. I think they can still win the Super Bowl. It just depends on can they keep up this momentum. I think there's going to have to be a team that really like challenges them on both sides of the ball, but I don't know. I feel like Chiefs are going to make the Super Bowl personally.
It's crazy. This is such a dominant performance by them. I'm sorry that I didn't really talk the past couple of minutes. I'm just like looking at like the graph that you made. It looks so good, and I think you're right. I mean, I feel like it was a fresh team, a fresh Chiefs team at the beginning of this year due to the new pieces, and I think Patrick Mahomes needed a few games to get back into groove from losing in the Super Bowl, and I think they, as a whole, they just needed to string some few ends together, and they did just that, going 9-1. But yeah, it's crazy you have to turn around with the Chiefs.
I actually think the only way to beat this team is to win the turnover battle, because if you really look at September through October, the turnover ratio was the defense got 7 turnovers, the offense let up 17 turnovers, and then they completely like flipped the switch, and in the last 10 games of the season it was 22 turnovers across 10 games, which is an average of basically like 2 per game, and then 8 total turnovers, which is like not amazing. There are teams that have done better, I'm sure, but like still a huge like turnaround from 17 turnovers in 7 games from mainly Patrick Mahomes. I think he was throwing a lot of interceptions. And I mean, I'll just like confirm this, but I think that's kind of what happened with the Bengals Chiefs game. The Bengals just were like flawless on offense and weren't letting the Chiefs take the ball away from them. And so they ended up winning that game. And so that's the only game in the past 3 months that they lost. So I think that speaks volumes.
I agree. What a turnaround by the Chiefs. And I feel like this is making a case that we're slowly starting to solidify Chiefs dynasty that much more, if it wasn't already solidified.
Yeah.
Before this.
Cool.
We're watching history in the books in the making.
Anyways, got that out of the way. Also on Saturday, we had what was supposed to be a huge playoff battle between Eagles and Cowboys, but it was mainly just Eagles bench versus Cowboys starters for half the game, and then Cowboys put in their bench in the other half. And it was just like, I think both teams were just playing for seeding at that point, which can be important. Depends on your philosophy, I feel like. If you think you can beat any team, then I guess it doesn't matter. That's kind of what the Bengals' philosophy was. They think they can beat any team, so they bench basically everyone that wasn't trying to get an incentive. As far as the Cowboys, I guess their philosophy was they wanted as good a seed as they could get, and also they just wanted to get some momentum going into the postseason after their kind of sad loss to the Cardinals. And then Eagles also, they juggled with that, like, do we keep the momentum going from, like, you know, we've been on a huge win streak, do we keep that going into the postseason? Or I think Nick Sirianni said something about rust. He didn't want his players to feel like rust going into the postseason. But I think COVID basically solidified the idea that like nobody's going to be ready to play this game. Might as well just rest them up. So
And they started Jason Kelsey want a singular snap to keep his 122 consecutive game or consecutive starting a game and not missing.
dude,
And
I was looking at something crazy recently about Jason Kelsey. I was looking on Twitter and there's like this huge like okay, basically last season when like Nick Sirianni got hired, once was out, all that stuff, everyone was talking about how Eagles were going into rebuild mode and how everyone actually wanted, Eagles fan base wanted Jason Kelsey to like retire or go to a different team, a team that would win essentially, because they didn't want to waste his talents on a rebuild team. But then he said in a press conference before the season, was like, we may be in rebuild, but it doesn't mean we're not going to make the playoffs. And then they made the playoffs. So
that's crazy.
I Jason Kelsey has quickly become one of my favorite players for sure, just because of his like attitude, how like he deals with the Philadelphia fan base, which is very controversial, but I think he handles it really well.
Yeah. You know why he handles it really well? It's because
Why?
he's so good. All you have
He
to
is
do,
so good. All you have to do is be good. Do your job.
yeah. And if you're good in this city, then fans will love you and you won't get booed every single game.
Yep.
And Jalen Reagor is feeling that really hard this season because every time he goes out onto the field, everyone boos him instantly. Like when he returns like a punt return or a kickoff return, everyone's
Yeah.
booing him. Everyone was booing him.
He's like a
But
perennial Pro Bowler at this point, right? Jason Kelsey.
yeah,
I think he has
he's
5 in his 10 season career, but like more recently, it's been 3 in a row.
yeah, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Ooh,
Just so good. He's so good.
Is he better than Travis Kelsey?
I think they're equal.
Travis Kelsey is just, he has a flashy position.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only thing that like you can put over Jason Kelsey. But like also flashiness does attribute to team success as well, because scoring is at the end of the day what's going to make you win. And Travis Kelsey is very much known for that. So I don't know. I think it's hard. I think when you look at positions, like Jason Kelsey is obviously top of his position. Travis Kelsey is obviously at the top of his position. And that's like the only 2 like standards you can really look at. So I would say they're also tied.
Yeah. I made this distinction in my Eagles Cowboys reaction, but I made the distinction and kind of compared him to Joe Thomas on the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer or not. I have to look it up, or if he's even eligible. I think he had like 10,700 consecutive snaps and he barely missed any games.
He was a unanimous NFL 2010s all-decade team, Joe Thomas. That's pretty crazy.
It's crazy how crazy of a career he has, but like
and it was wasted on the Browns.
Yeah. It's so crazy how well he did. He played in 10,363 consecutive snaps, and he played all 167 games that he was able to play. Like he never missed a snap, which is crazy.
Hey, you want to trade centers? Ryan Kelly for Kelsey?
I'm good.
Like Kelly's also a Pro Bowler. I think like 3 years in a row, maybe just 2.
Jason Kelsey is like Zach Ertz, or equivalent to Zach Ertz. Like the fan base loves him. Like,
but Ryan Kelly's younger. Think about that.
Yeah, but he has too much sentimental value. Jason
I'm
Kelsey.
joking. Yeah, Ryan Kelly also within the fan base is very loved. I doubt we'd give him up for anything. There's been a lot of talk, but we'll get to that, about players that we love but might have to give up just for like trade value. It's been interesting.
We'll give you Boston Scott for him if you want.
Dude, we don't need a watered down Nyheim Hines. Like,
yo, Boston Scott's a million times better.
No, Boston Scott's not a million times better. Like, he's good. I've always liked Boston Scott, but Nyheim Hines, like, he's a top 10 paid running back in the league.
So,
and he's not even the starter. Like, I think that speaks volumes to his utility.
You can't pay running backs that much money. That's not right.
Well, I mean, top 10 in a position that always gets snubbed in money, like, that's not that much. You know
Yeah,
what I
that
mean?
is true. I guess we can move forward because I talked a lot about it during the reaction for the Eagles game, so I don't got much to say. But Detroit Lions versus Green Bay Packers. Detroit Lions pulled every single play in the playbook out for this one. They were doing like Philly specials times like quadruple the times like of trickery. That even makes sense. But they were just pulling all the tricks in the playbook out for this.
Yeah,
And
I'm glad this game is preceding the game that I'm gonna probably have a rant about, but this game is how you're supposed to play at the end of the season, you know? And this is why, with all the coach firings that have been happening recently, like this is why, crap, what is it? Dan Campbell, coach of the Detroit Lions. This is why, like, he is without a doubt staying on this team despite having the worst record in the NFC. It's because of how hard this team plays every game, and
Mhm.
especially this game, especially against a team that was like benching a lot of their players. Like, I don't think they were benching immediately, but I think halfway through, Aaron Rodgers is like, okay, whatever, let them have this. You know,
yeah,
I think it's just crazy. I mean, just the way that even younger players like stepped up, like Amon Ross, St. Brown, and like just everyone I feel like involved just like played their heart out. Yes, honestly. Someone said the funniest thing on Twitter. Someone said that Campbell will be the first Hall of Fame coach to never make the playoffs.
that's
Because
so
it's so
funny.
true. He's like acting, he's got his team, he's got the culture of the team down, like more so than anyone, but they just can't win. And that's mainly because how like much of a poverty franchise the Lions are. I think give them like a couple of years. Like I'm obviously like general manager's gonna have to do their job. And like it's a terrible year to like basically be back to back bottom three pick
Mhm,
right now, considering that the quarterback class is just not that strong,
mhm.
especially this upcoming draft. And Jacksonville, I mean, they lucked out and got Trevor Lawrence last year, but like if they only had the one, gosh, I can't even speak. If they only had the first pick this year, then I don't even know. Like a defensive end is not going to help your team. It's going to help your team now that you have quarterback figured out for Jacksonville, but it's kind of sucks for Detroit because like they're going to get a really good edge rusher. Like cool defense in one area is going to be fine, but like the actual engine, Jared Goff, like that's not going to get you to the playoffs. You know,
Mhm.
like they're going to
Yeah,
have to find a long-term solution somewhere, and I doubt they're going to find it in free agency because I doubt Detroit is a huge pull for free agents. So
yeah, and Jared
imagine they
Goff.
made a trade for Russell.
No, the Eagles are going to make a trade for Russell. It's going to be Jalen Hurts for Russell Wilson.
I can see it.
It's going to happen. I forget what I was going to say. Oh, that's why. And Jared Goff could barely win in with the Rams. And look at the Rams now. Like that should always be a playoff team no matter what. Like they have basically all the pieces together. They just needed a quarterback. And
I
if
mean, I'm
Jared
pretty
Goff,
sure they had basically the same record though.
yeah, that is true. But I mean, I feel like this team can actually seal the deal.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe.
I just feel like the Rams always were inconsistent within the playoffs. I don't know why. I feel like they always lost early within like the first couple rounds or something. Except for that one exception when they did somehow make it to the playoffs, which I refuse to believe was an actual Super Bowl year for some reason.
Okay, they were 10-6 last year, 12-5 this year, so two more wins added on. I thought they did better last year, but yeah,
Mhm.
I think I think that is I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
That you bring Matthew Stafford to the team and it gets you a couple more wins because I mean that roster is so good on its own. I think you just had I think you're right about Matthew Stafford just like pushing them over the top to seal the deal. He's the cherry on top basically for the
Yeah.
team. I don't think they're going to seal the deal this year, but I think I could see them in the Super Bowl next year. I think Matthew Stafford has been very inconsistent, but I think that's like new team struggles maybe.
Mhm.
Still, I mean, I know it's late in the season, that has to be figured out. I think it's just like a weird period where you have to just kind of like figure out like what pieces like really help Matthew Stafford out. As far as I think they haven't really figured out the running game at all, and I think like offensive linemen could definitely be better. But yeah, anyways,
Yeah. And to wrap up this game, it was Green Bay Packers weren't playing for anything. Aaron Rodgers and the offense or the certain offense, and I don't know about the defense, but I'm pretty sure the certain defense also played just for the first half, and then they all sat out second half. So it kind of explains more to why the Lions won. But even then, when the starters were in, the Lions were keeping pace with the Green Bay Packers. And I don't know why they even had their starters and with Green Bay or for Green Bay because they already clinched the number one seed before this, so they weren't playing for anything and would just injure it. I think it's probably just to keep some rust on. But yeah, Green Bay lost 37-30. But now we get to the Indianapolis Colts versus Jacksonville Jaguars. You can rant for however long you want about this because I feel like you're down bad with losing the championships in the
Oh yeah, I know.
and
That was
Colts.
a pretty bad day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colts not making playoffs and then losing the fantasy championships. I won in 2 other leagues though.
Oh, that's good. Like the championship, did those leagues buy-ins? Like, did you have to pay for those?
No. I just did like random public ones that are free.
Oh, okay.
I should do more like big buck ones though, because I'm good. Anyways, so this game, it was weird because against Las Vegas, it was clear that the energy was very down. I mean, if you watch the HBO Max episode, the Hard Knocks episode on it, like they were clearly like something was like wrong on the team. Like the energy was like really weird. And Frank Reich acknowledged it during practices and like we have to figure this out. And then they went to Las Vegas. They didn't go to Las Vegas. Las Vegas came to them. It was at home, which might be T.Y. Hilton and Jack Doyle's like last home game. And it was an embarrassing loss, which they should have sealed, but they didn't. And they're like, okay, on the next one. That was the mentality. And Frank Reich mentioned that this week the energy was really good. Like there weren't like weird like issues they were having. The energy was great. And then they go to Jacksonville and everything just falls apart. And I just think that is like such a weird phenomenon where you think you have things figured out and like they had the confidence, I could tell at the beginning, but then at some point I think they just started to get like PTSD of last game or something and they just started messing up. And I think what is the team now, 9-8? Yeah, a 9-8 kind of like it essentially is a good representation of how the team has been, like really strong at some points but really weak in a lot of areas. And I think a lot of teams can do well knowing that they're really strong in some areas and really weak in a lot of others, and like even make it all the way to, I don't know, conference championships with that foundation. But certain things have to be, there are certain areas that when strong like really put the team over the top. And it's like it basically comes down to pass rush. You have to get at the quarterback, like edge rushers and all that. That is like one of the most important things on defense because it interrupts everything. It interrupts run plays, it interrupts passing plays, it interrupts everything at any point in the game. It's never situational. It always is helpful to have a good pass rush. And Colts didn't have that against Jacksonville, especially, but it's been a problem all season. They're like bottom 5, I'm pretty sure, and that it just hasn't been consistent. And that was like the offseason need last year. That was like a big stressor. It was like, okay, if we're not going to continue with a pretty mediocre pass rush, then who are we going to get for it? And so we were looking at veteran options, but eventually they just drafted 2 guys and then basically let everyone else walk in free agency. And that left us with no veteran pass rusher, and the rookies, like, you know, as a rookie season is supposed to go, they struggled. And on a team that basically has a lot of pieces in place to take it all the way, it's hard to know that there's that one area that's always just going to kind of like be inconsistent. And so I think that was a major issue. I think defensively a lot has been better this season as far as like defensive backs have generally been better. Rock Yassin and Isaiah Rodgers have really stepped up. And I think like a lot of our strong points last year have really carried over as well, like being the best in the league and taking the ball away. But we weren't able to do that against Jacksonville because they came well prepared not to fumble, you know. And Trevor Lawrence didn't throw an interception, which he's been prone to do all season. And so clearly, I think that comes down to pass rush and also defensive scheme. A lot of people have been talking about Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator, how he should get fired basically. And the funny thing is, he's actually one of the people who's supposed to interview for the Jaguars coaching vacancy. And then basically we saw what happened in Jacksonville. I honestly think the defense didn't do terrible because it wasn't like a super blowout and we like made them kick a lot of field goals. So we stiffened up in the red zone a lot of times. But at the same time, it was a 2-win Jacksonville team. So like they shouldn't be getting in the red zone that often anyways. So that's area number 1. Number 2, wide receivers. Another thing last year we were talking about in the offseason was trying to get more wide receivers. I think the sentimental value of having T.Y. Hilton back kind of like fogged over that area because we thought that like, oh, give T.Y. Hilton a quarterback that can throw a deep ball and we'll be fine. But T.Y. Hilton's old, and unfortunately he's old, and that proved to be true going into the season where he was injured for most of the season. And even in the games he played, he was like some of the lowest targets he's had like all season. I mean, all of his whole career. So on a per game basis, Michael Pittman stepped up, but he's literally the only receiver who did. Jack Doyle was inconsistent, like still pretty good as far as like basically where he has been all his whole career with the Indianapolis Colts, but it's still been like just above mediocre. I feel like we took like a leap of faith with Mo Alley Cox and Kylan Granson, the rookie, thinking that they would kind of elevate things, but they just didn't show up the way we thought they would. And then basically all the other wide receiver weapons that stepped in from the bench or just as starters, just like they didn't pan out. Zach Pascal, he didn't elevate the team despite being on the team for so long. Paris Campbell, still injury prone. He only played in like 6 games this season as well. So that's a large issue that was being stressed so much last offseason. Like we have to get a better answer for this. We can't just like have one person targets and then we virtually did nothing about it and we're still in the same place. And it's like it's pretty obvious how we got to this point. And then left tackle is the other thing. Same thing from last offseason. Once Anthony Costanzo retired, we were like, okay, left tackle has to be figured out. And then they went and got Eric Fisher, which I think he was coming off like a ACL injury, which is like not a lot of people are able to bounce back really easily off of ACL or an Achilles, something like that. And then he definitely didn't pan out. I think he's probably the worst offensive lineman in the entire group as far as the starters go, despite being at one point he was a Pro Bowler for the Kansas City Chiefs. Like he was a Super Bowl winner. And then we lead it back to quarterback. So it's basically the 4 main things that last offseason we said we had to get figured out: quarterback, left tackle, wide receiver, edge rushers. We have to figure those out. None of them got figured out. Maybe in the long term, edge rusher. Maybe if they like really progress after the rookie season, I think that could be figured out. Left tackle, it's a huge hole. Like Eric Fisher is not returning. Wide receiver, T.Y. Hilton's probably retiring. Zach Pascal and Paris Campbell probably won't be returning to the team. They just haven't panned out at all. It's literally only Michael Pittman, which we thought was like fine, but he's not gonna. There's no way he's gonna lead the team. He's not going to be able to carry the team on his back as far as the passing game goes, you know. And then his quarterback, Wentz is just so inconsistent. I think after reading everything everyone's been saying, like most of the fans want him out right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that's unlikely. He's probably going to run it back for a season 2. And then when asked if like he's the long-term solution, if he could like lead a team, everyone just is like, I don't know, because he's too inconsistent. At some points, he's the best quarterback on the field. Well, he's obviously going to be the best quarterback on the field. He's the only quarterback on the field at any given moment. But sometimes he's like the best quarterback in the division. Sometimes he's the worst. When we look at like Tannehill, Lawrence, and right now Davis Mills has been looking really good as well in Houston.
He's gonna be league MVP.
Maybe. If Houston can figure stuff out, I don't know. He's been looking really good, honestly.
Is he better than Watson?
No. Watson's another level, but
David Mills becomes the next Tom Brady with Deshaun Watson talent.
Anyways, what a world that would be. So yeah, to wrap this up, Wentz just didn't get the job done. And it's been this way for most of the like last half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like he's gotten worse almost and less confident. And it's just like he always it seems like he starts to get things going at some points and during some games, like on certain drives when like a 2-minute drill, sometimes he'll like really drive the ball down the field and work something out. But then other times he does like a dumb shovel pass when he's under pressure to try to get rid of the ball, and then it ends up being called a fumble or an interception or something like that. Like this happened 3 to 4 different times. Like there's no reason why that should happen that many times. The same dumb mistake. Like that should happen once. It happened once to Patrick Mahomes this season. We never saw it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's how a quarterback should have it in his mindset. But I think he just has like a lot of PTSD from like last year getting sacked all the time and not getting rid of the ball and that being a glaring issue that everyone pointed out at him. So he's like, okay, no matter what I do, I have to get rid of the ball. But then it ends up being a turnover. It ends up being worse. And so he's just replacing bad habits with even worse ones.
Yeah.
It feels like, and it's just like these weird, like a lot of people said that Frank Reich would be able to coach him out of these habits. And I think that's true. I don't think it's necessarily over for him, but I think as time goes by, you just have to wonder, like, he's only getting older and less impressionable. Yeah, we could go year in, year out, like saying, okay, he can still be fixed. But at some point you have to look at the future and say, yeah, but there's a lot of like young quarterbacks with a lot of talent also who could use the coaching to get them fixed and get them NFL ready. So like, why don't we just focus on those guys instead of a guy who in theory could be fixed, but just hasn't figured it out for some reason.
He's 29 years old, which is getting up there in age most definitely. And he even came into the league pretty late. He came into the league at age 24, 25, which even lowered the age of impression out or to impression him more and closes that gap, because I feel like NFL coaches can change old habits or bad habits out of younger quarterbacks more so than college people can. So if you enter the league like at the age of 21 to 22 early like that, then NFL coaches get to you earlier and can easily change old habits faster. Comparatively to if you come into the league at the age of 25, like Carson Wentz did, then that gap shortens more because he's with like college coaching more than he is with NFL coaching at that point.
Yeah. So I think as far as on the Wentz debate goes, I think he's a quarterback that if things go well, we can win playoff games with, maybe even take it all the way to Super Bowl. In theory, sure. But he's not a long-term solution. I think it's too late for him to be a franchise quarterback. I think it's just a stopgap right now. And it's mainly coming down to sentimental value for Frank Reich. Because, I mean, Chris Ballard was looking at a lot of different options before he jumped to Wentz. Like, he was looking at Derek Carr. He was actually really hoping he'd be available. But then Las Vegas rightfully stuck with him, and now they're in the playoffs. And he was looking at Matthew Stafford. Now the Rams, won the division with him. It's just like, it kind of is just like, I feel like I can't even blame Chris Ballard too much because he was looking at a lot of different options, knowing that their position in the draft like wouldn't get them a good quarterback. Like a good quarterback wasn't going to fall to them. If anything, Mac Jones maybe, but then New England jumped at that opportunity before the Colts could. So, and this was obviously after Wentz got put there, but still, I think Chris Ballard knew that like, okay, I'm not going to have a long-term solution, so might as well trust the coach and trust what he thinks about being able to change him. I can't even blame Chris Ballard too much because there weren't a lot of great options left. And I'm honestly not mad at the fact they took that trade with Wentz. But the only downside is that because the Eagles knew how much Frank Reich wanted him, they're able to elevate the price tag on Wentz and say, okay, we want a conditional quote unquote first round pick, which became a first round pick, obviously. So it's just like, I think things just didn't pan out the way Chris Ballard wanted them at all. And now we're at a point where we look back and it's like, okay, yeah, but like, what else could we realistically have done in that position? I feel like it was the only opportunity left to actually make this team a competitive, like they still competed for a playoff spot after a really good quarterback left in Phillip Rivers. So I think that's still important to look at. And obviously, Wentz was supposed to elevate the team to even higher standards, but I think that was an overestimation. I think that expectation should have been dumbed down a little bit more because it's also a first team and also based off of where Wentz left off. Like at his peak, he could be really good, but where he left off is the most important factor, I feel like, which was really bad, worse than the league. So
And Frank Gray, I felt like had that issue too with the Eagles. I guess it wasn't really him since he left after the Super Bowl, but the Eagles struggled with keeping their Super Bowl guys like Corey Clement, Jay Ajayi, and a couple like Chris Long, a few other like Super Bowl guys that were out of their prime and or were not that good, and we should have or left cut them or got new players because they shouldn't have been kept the next year, but due to the fact that they won the Super Bowl, we kept them. And I feel like you were spot on when you said that Frank Wright's probably going to struggle with keeping Carson Wentz due to that sentimental reasoning.
yeah, so my realistic expectation is that Chris Ballard learns from this season and actually like is more aggressive in free agency, like actually goes for like a big dollar wide receiver, maybe trades up in the draft to get a really good left tackle, brings in a veteran edge rusher just on a short-term deal, just to like while the rookies progress, at least we have someone who's like somewhat consistent and like a tried and true veteran. Like I think there's a lot of different options at that in free agency from what I've looked at. So I'm confident in that. Wide receiver, yeah, I already mentioned that. Yeah, it really just comes down to quarterback. I think I don't know what you're going to do at quarterback. I think Wentz stays. I think he'll probably start next season just because the options are so slim. This draft class is bad. I think maybe they like use their second round pick to get a quarterback that they can like work on through the early half of next season. And if Wentz doesn't pan out by then maybe just throw him in and say, okay, this is our last ditch effort sort of thing. And if Wentz does pan out, then maybe you have that second round quarterback to use as like a trade value, you know, who knows? I feel like you have to bring in quarterback competition to really show Wentz like there's pressure on you now, which like obviously didn't work with the Eagles with Jalen Hurts being drafted first round, but also that was first round after a decent season with Wentz. So like it didn't make sense. I feel like to draft Jalen Hurts at that point, and that's why it shocked him. But it shouldn't be shocking to Wentz that a different quarterback comes in now. I feel like if he's not able to handle that, then like obviously he's not the right quarterback for the team.
Yeah. And it was second round that we drafted Jalen Hurts too.
Oh, it was second round. Yeah. I was thinking of the Jordan Love situation.
No. But yeah, I feel like Carson Wentz doesn't have a great mental. I don't think he can have that strong like mental power to not let it get in his head. Because I feel like he allows outside things to get into his head a lot, like with the Eagles and stuff. I mean, it was a shit show to begin with, like obviously, but I feel like if the Colts do draft someone high round, I feel like that would get into his head a little bit. I don't know how much that would affect him. And I feel like the Colts need to, like, regardless, I think they need let Carson Wentz just play another year, like you said, just to get more familiar with the playbook and everything. I always like to give like new coaches and new players on a team like 2 years at minimum before I put like
I say 1.5. I feel like if you're halfway through your second season, then and you haven't figured it out, because like I think by the end of the second season, it's like too late. You've already wasted so much potential. If you can like try and save things in the middle of the second season, maybe then go for it. You know what I mean? And that's why I think that's what you kind of have to do with Wentz a little bit.
Yeah. And I think he improved from last year comparatively to this year, because he's definitely not throwing.
But he digressed in other areas. I agree. He's protected the ball better, not best, but better. He's not throwing interceptions as much. And I think that's cool, but also he's fumbled a lot. Like he shouldn't be fumbling that much. And I also like, we can talk about how left tackle has been a disappointment as well. And that could lead to it, but he still shouldn't be fumbling that much. And I just think it's like, we took a quarterback that would be able to scramble more. And he definitely did that, especially more than Rivers, but I don't think it's been like a lot better than like what we can see around the league with other quarterbacks. So
they're going to make the Super Bowl, and Carson Wentz is going to be league MVP next year.
Like I could see him take not taking the team to the Super Bowl. I can see him being the starter of this team and the team still making the Super Bowl. A lot has to change around him, but also he has to change drastically too.
Yeah.
He just has to be, because like he also had one of the worst like completion percentages as well. Like he's just not consistent. And also wide receivers have been an issue. So like, but at some point you have to stop making excuses and saying like, okay, you have to elevate the team given your circumstances. Like, yeah, wide receivers aren't ideal, left tackle isn't ideal, but at some point you just have to like elevate the team and make the plays.
I agree.
Because it's not like it's in the worst circumstances. You have a perennial All Pro and Quentin Nelson, perennial Pro Bowler and Ryan Kelly. Brain Smith is good. He just got extended. Right tackle. Michael Pittman's good. Everything is not like lost, you know. I could look at a bunch of different teams around the league where scenarios for quarterbacks are even worse, but he's not in a bad spot.
Yeah.
He just has to elevate and make the circumstances better for the whole team, which is what a quarterback's supposed to do, but he hasn't been. He's kind of just like let the team be what the team is, which is a running team. It has been for even before him, even before Jonathan Taylor, it has been a running team. But he has to at some point make it his own identity and say, okay, we're going to be a team that is good in the passing game, but they haven't. I think that's the problem. They've leaned a bit too much on the run game, which I like because I'm a Jonathan Taylor fan. But oh man, I wish they could emphasize. I don't know how much better Frank Reich could have done it, because there are even times where people were like, give the ball to JT more. But at some point, you have to establish the passing game before you can succeed in running. So I don't know. It's very tricky. A lot of people are calling for Chris Ballard and Frank Reich to be fired, wants to get cut. And I just think those are like
a little too excessive.
Yeah, too excessive. Like obviously people should be mad and like drastic changes need to be implemented, because this team has so many good pieces, but not enough to show for it. So there should be that anger, but I feel like we're just making things worse for ourselves if we were to. I feel like cutting once would make things worse for us, because like, okay, who do we go after that? And we still have we have to take that cap hit, the dead cap hit. And so we're not going to be able to pay the new quarterback much. So we're not going to be left with a lot. And then people are just going to be mad by the end of next season, you know, once we lose the division, don't make playoffs again because we did that.
Wentz for Wilson. But yeah.
We don't have a first round pick to elevate those chances, though. You see the problem?
That is true. Well, I agree. I feel like it'll be a very bad decision if they do cut Wentz, which I don't think they will. But still, I think we said this previously, but give a quarterback at least 1.5 to 2 years to actually improve, or to actually solidify to the fans that he can show improvement in good ways. And there's like no one else that are good, unless if Wentz gets back onto the Eagles for Hurts.
I was thinking of Josh Allen, because like the year before he popped off, I was thinking like, man, this guy is like one of the most mediocre quarterbacks in the league. I think he was still a rookie though, so that may have implemented it, or maybe it was his second year. But I think of that, I was like, man, if this team had a good quarterback, they could probably take it all the way. And then they went right to the conference championship once he started to pop off. And I think they're a first round exit when he was like, everyone was saying he was like the worst player on the team almost, because the team was like stacked. I mean, it still is stacked. So I think, yeah, you just need Wentz to be able to step up and elevate the team so that can get you those higher points. That's all it takes, which a lot of people are not sold on Wentz being able to do that. And I think that's reasonable. Maybe it was too late for him. I don't know. But I also think seeing how he plays at his peak, there's a lot to have hope for as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting next season, but he has to drastically improve if he wants to stay on longer. But the Eagles officially won that trade because Colts didn't make the playoffs. We get a first round pick because Carson Wentz plays 75% and more of the season. And we get a better draft pick too. I think it's probably in the teens.
Yeah, long term and short term.
Yeah.
I feel like that trade was just better. And I think it was literally just because Eagles knew they weren't going to be able to make that trade anywhere else but on the Colts. So they're holding out for the Colts to make some sort of offer or some sort of inquiry. And it just sucks how we were taking advantage of like that because the sentimental Frank Reich was all buddy with Wentz. Like it should not have been that bad. There's no way we should have let a first round pick go for Wentz, but
That's
yeah.
so funny. I don't know how that happened, but I'm so happy. And it kind of reminds me of the Ben Simmons fiasco in the Philadelphia Sixers. Just get a little off topic about basketball, where we're kind of seeing trying to get rid of Ben Simmons, who the fans hate and doesn't have good mental capacity to deal with Philadelphia fans, and just wants out of Philly. And it reminds me of Wentz, how he wanted out of Philly. And we're asking for a really high price, and we were asking for a really high price for Carson Wentz. We got it with Eagles, but we're struggling with the Sixers. So I think we're asking too high of a price for Ben Simmons, but I just think it's weird that it's happening to both Philadelphia major sports teams, where it's one of the top players on the team kind of wanting out of Philadelphia, which is weird.
Yeah.
But I guess we can finally. Do you want to move on, or do you have anything else?
Yeah, we can move on. I ran it for a while. We can speed run a lot of these because a lot of them didn't have implications. So this one, Washington beat Giants. Joe Judge is, for whatever reason, staying with the Giants after a 4-13 season. And he's been on the team, I feel like, too long with nothing to show for it. It's just like, why are they running it back over and over? Especially with how many good players are reasonably on this team. I mean, they spent big money for the wide receivers, for Kenny Galladay. Well, not big money. They spent a lot of capital for upgrading the wide receivers for Daniel Jones. And Joe Judge hasn't been able to make anything out of it.
Yeah.
I feel like both are the problem, coach and quarterback. It's just like, how have Kadarius Toney and that Lions receiver, I'm forgetting his name.
The St. Brown?
No. The Lions receiver is now on the Giants. Giants receiver who was formerly on the Lions. Who?
Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay and Kadarius Toney. Neither of them got a touchdown this season.
Yeah, that's insane. Like
A first round draft pick and one of the biggest buys on a free agent wide receiver in this past free agency.
Mhm.
I think it was the most money that went to a wide receiver, possibly, in the last offseason. Neither of them got a touchdown. I don't even think they were injured that much either. So it's just crazy. Like, that is a coaching issue. Like, any quarterback should be able to make that work. Even Daniel Jones should be able to make that work. But for some reason, it never did. Like, that is a clear coaching issue.
Yeah, that's insane. The Giants are just bad. And I thought Joe Judge coached longer than this, but he only coached since 2020, head coach of the Eagles for the past 2 years. And he was second in the NFC last year at 6-10. But
Forgot about that. Okay, 6-10 still isn't much to be proud of.
Yeah, but honestly, that's a kind of a good start. I mean, first year on the Giants, like giving
What
a
were
bad
the Giants
roster.
before that?
They were really bad. I think they were like 5-11. I think 4-12 the year before that. They haven't been above 500 in the last 5 years. So I mean, Joe Judge went on.
They were 4-12. So Joe Judge came in and got them 2 more wins in a very weak division. Remember that?
Well, I mean, he's one of the bad teams in that division. It's like,
well, yeah, but still, like, bad teams can always be bad teams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It, like, even if you're a bad team, if your schedule helps you out, then you're gonna get wins.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
I think, yeah, the 4 of their 6 wins last year were against division opponents.
Thanks to Eagles, I don't think.
Yeah, they did.
Really? I thought we beat them twice. We might have only beat them once then. Oh well.
They beat Washington twice and Eagles, Cowboys once.
Yeah, they probably cheated or something. But yeah, but the Giants have been a disaster. But I think I know it's only 2 more wins and 4 of them came against the division. But I feel like that's a lot better first season than like Urban Meyer's had with the Jags, or a bunch of like these first year coaches where they don't go 6-10.
Well,
often.
I feel like that is comparing apples to oranges, though. The difference is that Giants were 4-10. Jaguars were a 1-win team, maybe 2-win. I feel like that's a bit different. And then they also had to draft a quarterback and bring him in, as opposed to Joe Judge came in when he was already on that team. Daniel Jones was.
That is true.
So I feel like there's a lot more for Urban Meyer to have worked out in that organization. And then Joe Judge came in and he knew how things were. Like, obviously he was supposed to change a lot, but I don't know. I feel like Joe Judge had better circumstances for him. like easier circumstances for him to get more wins.
Yeah.
Especially when you think of the talent on that team. Like when you think of the Jaguars, they don't have like that much before Urban Meyer. And also like when we talk about injuries, like they're one of their other first round picks injured for the whole season. James Robinson injured most of the season, I feel like.
I guess that does make sense. Joe Judge was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and he has 3 Super Bowls with the Patriots.
I will say like Joe Judge, he did deserve the benefit of the doubt last season because of Saquon Barkley, but then they had a healthy Saquon Barkley. Obviously, like not peak Saquon Barkley, but still good. They spent so much money for Kenny Golladay, first round pick Kadarius Toney. Offense was set. I feel like you should be able to make something out of that, and they didn't. Put up 7 against Washington.
Yeah.
I think we talked about Giants a bit too much, but
Yeah, that was way too long. This is going to be a 5-hour podcast.
I know. Maybe split this into 2, one being a recap for the season and the other being a playoff episode. I don't know.
I'll see what happens.
Yeah, so Vikings Bears also a game that had no playoff implications. I'm pretty sure Vikings were eliminated at that point. And Mike Zimmer from the Vikings and Matt Nagy both fired the day after the game. Matt Nagy was more clear as day, like, yeah, this team needs to get out of there. Defense had been pretty good most of the season, but offense was a mess year in, year out. This team was just like not even mediocre. Like they were less than mediocre, especially this year. And I feel like they had relatively a lot going for them as far as players go. I feel like there's a lot of talent on the Bears that just like, same with Giants, just like didn't seem to get worked out. It's just weird because Bears also made the playoffs last year. So it's just like so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt Nagy obviously had to get out of there. Could not figure out how to use Justin Fields for the life of him. So
what you're saying that just throwing to Justin Jefferson 15 times per game doesn't work in this league?
Oh, I wasn't even talking about Minnesota yet. I was talking about Justin Fields.
Oh, for some reason I was thinking Justin Jefferson. Sorry, I don't know why.
No. But as far as Minnesota goes, like obviously, like I think they every now and then they would have a lot of success, but it just always came down to the same like mediocre result. And I think it wasn't clear if Mike Zimmer was going to be off the team. There's a lot of potential there, and I feel like he did a lot of great things for the team, especially with like all the players that he had, making a name for Justin Jefferson, especially Dalvin Cook. Like he's responsible for a lot of the players' like individual success, but for some reason as a team, it just never got put together so that they could all basically win. You know what I mean? Like Kirk Cousins statistically looks good on paper, but like then you see that they had a losing season and just nothing really adds up with that team. For some reason, they just can't close games, and that's obviously a coaching issue. So
yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how long Zimmer had played on the Vikings for, but he has been the head coach of the Vikings for 8 seasons, and his record's 74-59-1, including a 2-3 playoff record. So, and he's the 7th longest tenured head coach in the NFL. So, I mean, I think he's a decent head coach, but I just think he hasn't put them above and beyond fast enough within his tenure. I feel like he has always been making enough improvements to stay on the team another year, but hasn't been able to elevate the team to a consistent playoff winning record.
Yeah, 3 playoff appearances. One time was a first round exit. One time lost to Philadelphia Eagles in the championship game, and then another time they made the divisional game and lost. So like it's just like a weird range of results. There was a point where he was able to take it to a conference championship game, but then a season later they're 8-7-1 and didn't make the playoffs. So it was just like it just felt like he couldn't carry the momentum.
Yeah, I agree. And to go back to like the Justin Fields too, and I agree with you that Matt Nagy could not coach Justin Fields or know how to use him to save his life. I think that ultimately we got him fired.
Yeah, then Titans managed to close it out against the Texans. Ryan Tannehill had a good game. I just feel like, well, here we go. Here's a coach that actually can deal with the bad circumstances and bring a team all the way to the first seed. Mike Vrabel, it's just insane to even think about. 12-5 record and the first seed in the AFC, where a generational player is out for most of the season, and 2 of your best wide receivers out consistently through the season. It's like at that point you're working with spare parts, and he made this team look like they're the best in the conference. I
Yeah.
don't think it'll shape out to be that way. I don't think they're making the Super Bowl or anything like that. But as far as actually getting them to this spot, I think this guy is coach of the year for sure, Mike Vrabel.
I think he's a second round exit. Yeah.
I could see him losing first round, honestly. But as far as like regular season goes, like they had one of the most impressive seasons considering the circumstances.
I agree with you. And when I said second round, I meant like second round of the playoffs because
Oh, right, because they have the bye, yeah.
yeah. But yeah.
I wasn't thinking about that. Yeah, you're right.
And then yeah, they had a very impressive season, like you said, on spare parts, which you don't see that often in this league. I feel like once teams go into shambles, how the Titans did a little bit, then it's just a downfall.
Yeah. Texans basically in the same spot they were last year, which is a 4-win season. Still have Deshaun Watson on the roster technically, ready to trade him.
Yeah.
Well, not ready to trade him. They weren't ready to trade him last year, but Deshaun Watson wanted out. So
I mean,
likely to trade him. It just feels like they were in limbo this year and just like wanting the season to be over.
Yeah.
But they still played well. I mean, obviously it was a new coach, so the new coach tried to impress. And he honestly, I think he did as good as he could considering the circumstances. Davis Mills looked great. Coley should definitely be back.
Yeah, and if you're a Texan fan or like anything to do with Deshaun Watson or like even the Texans organization, it must be nail biting because I haven't heard anything about the cases that were brought to him, and I feel like that's taking forever to settle. I haven't heard any like big news. Something might have came out about that. It just seems like they're waiting. Teams aren't going to bite out Deshaun Watson until that's figured out, obviously. So it's just a waiting game to figure out what all happened with those cases and everything. Yeah, Texans are just bad. And I didn't really watch this game, so I can't have any more. I don't have much input on it. But Baltimore Ravens for Steelers or Pittsburgh. Oh, and then I wanted to say that the Giants, I know this was from a few games ago, but the Giants clinched the 5th and 7th draft pick, so they have 2 top 10 draft picks. I wanted to say that earlier, I just forgot, and that randomly popped into my head when I was talking about the Deshaun Watson case or update. Baltimore lost to the Steelers, and Steelers made it into the playoffs. So they are the 7th seed, and due to the Jaguars beating Indianapolis Colts, I think Vegas beating the Chargers, and I thought there was something else, but I can't put my name to it. But they got in due to a long stretch of things to happen in the NFL, and they kind of just luckily bounced into the playoffs somehow, which I'm frustrated at. But I think they're going to be a first round exit because I don't think they're a playoff team at all. And there is everyone in the playoffs for the AFC side is a lot better than them. So I don't think they're going to make it through the playoffs that well, and hopefully.
Talking about the Steelers?
Yeah.
I would agree with you had this been earlier in the season when I was saying Steelers looked like one of the worst teams in the league, which they did. Everything seemed like it was falling apart. If you've been watching the past series of games, like to end the season, they've looked like a playoff team. Not like how they were looking last season when they're on their huge win streak and like thought they're going to the championship game. Basically, they're not that good, but they look like a fringe wild card team. They look exactly like where they ended up, which I didn't think they'd end up here at the beginning of the season, and then like even halfway through. But at this point, I'm like, okay, they actually like worked really hard to get to this point. I feel like, whereas Ravens, I think a lot just fell apart for them. Injuries just caught up. I expect Ravens to be a very competitive team next year, but this year just wasn't their year.
A lot of injuries happened on that team, and I agree with you. I had the Ravens, Browns, and I don't think I had the Cincinnati Bengals over the Steelers, but I had them. I'm pretty sure I had the Steelers in 3rd place. I don't know if I know that you did the AFC side for predicting teams' records, and I did the NFC side, but in my brain, I just had them in like 3rd or 4th place, and I had the Colts and the Chargers over the Steelers making it to the playoffs. I just never pictured for this season.
Yeah, AFC side was so difficult to predict.
Yeah.
Like I did terrible. We'll get to that later, but I had Baltimore and Cleveland in the playoffs instead of Steelers and Bengals, and it ended up being the opposite.
That's funny.
Like AFC was such a weird mess this season. But
Yeah,
anyways,
just weird. I even had the Raiders over the Steelers making it
the
into
only
playoffs.
team that like I feel like the only team that I feel like was exactly as hyped up to be were the Chiefs. Obviously, Chiefs supposedly should have done better. People were saying like, oh, they could be the first 17-0 team, which is like fair. But I feel like a 12-5 season also isn't like that bad,
Yeah,
considering how also competitive this AFC season has been. Like the in conference games, like Chiefs weren't going to win all of those with how the teams are playing this year. So I feel like they, as far as like at the beginning of the season to the end of the season, they seem to be as hyped up to be going into the playoffs. Whereas like all the other teams, like we kind of didn't expect, like either we under or over expected what they would end up doing if they would even make it to the playoffs. So
I agree.
anyways, moving forward.
San Francisco 49ers versus Los Angeles Rams. This was a very close game. Deebo Samuel did wonders for me in fantasy. He had 2 total touchdowns. I think he had a pass completion for like 20 yards or rushing. He had like 20 or so, 20 plus rushing yards, and I think almost 100 receiving yards. So he was doing it all. His quarterback, running back, and wide receiver for this game, and which helped the 49ers elevate them to beat the Rams. I don't know how well Matthew Stafford played.
Been really inconsistent, like good enough to lead the team to the playoffs, but like he should have still won them this game, but he threw 2 interceptions. And I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo threw 2 interceptions. It's not like he was flawless, but like I think defense did as good as they could, but offense just like kept being very one-dimensional. It feels like I feel like I don't think they have the running game down. Whereas like San Francisco, at least I feel like we've just given their players, they're able to kind of do it all just because like George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, that other guy on the 49ers who just like had an amazing day yesterday. Like they're really good on the receiving side. And then when you flip it over to the rushing side, like obviously Deebo Samuel, again, he's a dual threat. And then the actual running backs of that team, like they can do both sides of it. And so they're able to mix it up and they're able to put 27 up against a really good Rams defense. And it's just like up to the Rams offense to like match it. And they either come so close yet failing, or they just barely beat the other team.
Yeah, I agree. And Deebo Samuel is that triple threat now. He's a quarterback too. But
oh, that's right.
With Matthew Stafford too, just a last little thing. He had 238 yards, 65.6 completion, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions for a 93 rating or passer rating, I believe. And that's just adding to his interception total for the last 4 games. Last 4 games, he had a total of 8 total interceptions in the last 4 games. So that's an average of 2 per game, which is not good at all heading into the playoffs. But it's going to be interesting how he plays and if his interception problems continue. Because if they do, they are not going far in the playoffs at all, which is going to be sad to see.
Yeah. Tampa Bay took care of business against Carolina, basically just for seeding. I think Tom Brady played a full game, pretty sure. Yeah, Carolina were competitive in the first half, but fell apart later, which is basically how their season has gone as well.
Yeah.
Competitive in the first half, but fell apart. So
it looks
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Matt Rule. I don't know if anything has been talked about yet on that front, but a lot of people want him out. So we'll see.
It looks like Tom Brady played a full game. He had 78.4 completion percentage, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, 130.4 rating. It looks like he has a full game, but he might have just done that in the first half, like Dak Prescott did against the Eagles, RIP. But Tom Brady had a crazy statistic season. He had 67.5 completion rate, 5,316 yards, passing yards, 43 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 102.1 passer rating. But way to end the season for Tom Brady, and the Bucs are going to be playing the Eagles in the playoffs, which I'm not too worried about the Bucs. I mean, we're probably going to lose, but out of the teams that I would be worried about playing, the Bucs aren't really one of them, even though they took care of business against Carolina. I just think that they may not be fully together with all of their injuries on that offense. I feel like we can nab them in the butt secretively. But then you got Arizona Cardinals versus the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks beat the Cardinals 38-30. And did you know if Cardinals were playing their starters? Because I feel like they should.
Oh yeah, they were trying to win the division still. Seahawks have looked really good the last couple of games, especially with Rashad Penny. I mean, this is how they opened up the season, saying they wanted to play like they wanted to really establish the run so that Russell Wilson could pop off on his side of the deal, like just to basically what I was talking about being one-dimensional and two-dimensional. Like Garoppolo managed to lead a team to the playoffs because they're not one-dimensional. You know, I feel like Seahawks have kind of figured it out, a good recipe. And like I feel like they have found like a lot of good like X factors on their defense as well. I think they just need to keep building their team to really support that, mainly offensive line. And I think there's a lot of other things that they could improve on, but this team could be very competitive next year if they kind of carry the momentum they ended the season with onto the next. So, but at the same time, it really depends on Russell Wilson might want out regardless, just like too long with this team being kind of mediocre. And this is the worst result yet, I feel like. And then also for the coach, he's getting up there in age. A lot of people were saying that maybe this was his last season. So
yeah, I think he's the second oldest or oldest head coach in the league. I think Russell Wilson should play for the Eagles for a couple of years. I wouldn't mind that so much. But yeah, this is definitely their worst season because I feel like they've always been mediocre to enough to barely make playoffs or be decent enough to get like maybe the second or third seed, are always at least running in the division. Like it was always between the Rams and the Seahawks and sometimes the Cardinals and 49ers too, especially the past few years. But I feel like the Seahawks have always been in the running to maybe win the division or at least get in through the wild card and the last two spots. But Richard,
this time they finished last.
Yeah, and Rashad Penny, just to say his statistics, because he's been on a tear the last 3 games, and it even goes back to 5 games even, but he had 23 attempts, 190 yards, 8.3 average and a touchdown for this game against the Cardinals. And that's his 3rd game in a row where he had 135 plus rushing yard game. And 4 out of 5, the last 5 games, he had over 135 in each like game. And it's just crazy the last few games that he's played. He's on a real tear.
There you have it.
And then the New England Patriots versus Miami Dolphins. The New England Patriots lost to the Dolphins.
Wait, hold on. I'm getting flashbacks to the beginning of the season. Beginning of the season feels so long ago. Seahawks beat the Colts to start the season. And it's just crazy to think that neither team made the playoffs. Looking back.
That's insane. I never thought about that.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, yep. Moving on.
I
Miami.
don't know much about this game. I feel like
It was just carrying on the momentum from the beginning of the season, not the beginning of the season, from this last half of the season where they have just been outright dominant. Just huge win streak aside from, I think it was the Titans loss last week. And this is a really good division opponent who was playing for the division still. They just needed the Bills to lose, which they didn't, but Patriots were going for that and they lost. So
do you know if this was played at or in New England, like at Patriots? So I just feel like Miami Dolphins have always beaten the Patriots at their own home for such a long time.
No, this was in the Miami home. But at the beginning of the season, I think it was week 1, the Dolphins beat the Patriots.
Oh wow.
It was their one win, and then they went on a 7-game loss streak and then a 7-game win streak.
That's so funny. What a roller coaster kind of for the Miami Dolphins. And
honestly, the Patriots too,
I don't got much to say. Patriots lost 33-24. New Orleans Saints versus Atlanta Falcons. The Saints tried. They still had the playoffs to play for, so they needed to win, and they just did just that.
Yeah, they were scrapping for it. I think it was basically between them and 49ers. So they needed 49ers to lose, I'm pretty sure, was the implication. Saints took care of business. I always say it every time I predict Falcons, they do bad, but and this is a division rival. Falcons were just going to let the Saints have it, so they're gonna play. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Honestly, Taysom Hill looked better. Honestly, I would say like maybe even good enough to win a game in the playoffs. Who knows? Because the defense, we know what the defense is capable of. It just comes down to like, can the offense get things rolling? And 30 points on Atlanta, not bad.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. At least they went 9-8 this season. I know that's not enough for the playoffs, but at least they went above 500, and I feel like that's going to be the common thing to get to. I mean, I guess that is every year, but it's easier to get above 500 this year with the extra game. And to do that is very good. I guess that's a good way for ego's sake to go 9-8 as well.
I just forgot that actually Taysom Hill was out the second half of the game. He started the game really well, but then backup quarterback came in. And I think Taysom Hill's getting injury. So forget what I said about them maybe taking a game. He was looking really good. And then as soon as he started to like get on a roll, like he was like, they're actually scoring touchdowns, which they were struggling to do for a while. Bummer.
Yep. Moving forward to Buffalo Bills versus New York Jets. Buffalo Bills handled business with the Jets and beat them 27-10. And I don't know. There's not much to say to this game. Josh Allen played decently well. This game is all I know. He had 23 points. Do you have anything to say? I think this clinched some sort of seed for them, maybe.
Did the colors wrong again?
Titus, I'm not paying you millions of dollars for you to get the colors wrong. Gotta do better, man.
Anyways, I think Bills, it was like fourth quarter they finally started to like pull ahead. So I mean, Jets are competitive still. So yeah, I don't really know what necessarily that means for the playoffs. I feel like you could spin this in a bad way and in a good way, because Bills, they get the win, but they got a slow start. I don't know. There are a lot of ways you could look at it. I think Bills have a lot to look forward to. I think they can possibly make it to the champion. Not the Super Bowl. I think Chiefs will beat them at some point, but I think they can make it to the AFC Championship.
I feel like the Bills are always a fourth quarter team, or not always a fourth quarter team, but I think more towards the second half of the season, they turn into a fourth quarter team or second half team where they seem very, very slow in the first half and then get going in the second half, much like the Eagles do. But you're seeing the Bills struggle in the first half a lot, and that may be their downfall when they play against the Chiefs or some other decently good teams in this playoffs, the Titans. If a really good team gets off to a fast start and gets a lot of points, I don't think the Bills can get back into the game. And just rather put up points faster than sooner or later.
Let me tell you, I'm excited to see how the Jets progress next season. I think they're gonna really pop off next season.
You have been a Jets fan this past season. Not like it.
I
like a supporter. I wouldn't say like fan, but
I mean, I expected better, honestly.
Yeah.
But I should have known that would have been a slower start for the coach.
Yeah, I guess optimistic is what I want to say.
The organization was a mess. He was given a mess of an organization, but I think he has implemented good culture. Zach Wilson has looked decent. I think with a good offseason, this team will be pretty good.
They're gonna go to the Super Bowl and win.
I just don't know if they're gonna be able to pull much weight in free agency, trying to get some players to get over there, but maybe a good trade. I don't know how much draft capital they have to trade it, but
Infinity.
Infinity.
But yeah, I'm excited. They ended last year decently well too, because I felt like they got like 2 really good wins last year to end it, and everyone was like all in shock and stuff. And I thought it was funny. And they kind of ended this season relatively the same, couple more wins than last year.
Oh snap! Jets have 4 and 10 draft picks.
Wait, what was that?
The Jets have draft picks number 4 and number 10.
Damn. That's
so
which is better, having fourth overall draft pick and 10 overall draft pick, or 7 and 5? I guess 5 and 7. Which one would you rather have?
I think they're equal.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like if you're not like within the first 3, I feel like there's different tiers to it. Like top 3 draft pick is ideal, and then from like 4 to 10, it's like any 2 in that range, you're probably going to get like a really decent pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's like 11 through 20, and then 21 to 32 probably.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was just comparing the Giants and then the Jets to New York teams who earlier in this season I think had back-to-back. Those were the two teams who had back-to-back draft picks along with the Eagles who had back-to-back draft picks within the top 10, which was really funny.
Yeah, I feel like 4 is a weird position where usually most drafts, the best offensive player and the best defensive player are taken in the first 3,
Mm,
unless it's like a weird scenario where, like last year, 3 straight quarterbacks were taken. But usually it's like in the top 3, 2 teams will go quarterback unless there's like an insane option for wide receiver, running back, and then the other will go like edge rusher or something like that.
yeah,
Usually that's how it goes in the top 3.
I agree. Yeah.
And so at number
That's
4,
my
it's just like, okay, you're kind of going with the second best on either side of the ball.
I think I support that. I know I support that analysis. But yeah.
Okay, Vegas 9-7, Chargers 9-7, both fighting for a spot in the playoffs. If they
I'm-
tied, they would have both made the playoffs.
I'm so mad at the Raiders. That's such a douche thing to do because you go into overtime, 32-32. It takes a last second field goal to win, and you make it so that like you kick the Chargers out of the playoffs on purpose. Like they could have went like
Division rivals, dude. What are you gonna do?
But I just
What
don't
would you,
like the
if
Raiders.
you're the Eagles and you're playing against the Cowboys?
Well,
And it's the
obviously, it's
same.
the Cowboys. It's the
It's
the
the
Cowboys.
same scenario, and it's just like, let's say, I don't know, the Cardinals. If you tie, you kick the Cardinals out. And it's
Yeah.
like, are you gonna go with the Cardinals or are you gonna go in the playoffs with the Cowboys?
Yeah, that is true.
Because imagine, here's the thing. You always hate to play a division rival. Imagine for some random wild reason they end up facing each other again in the playoffs.
Mhm.
The Raiders and the Chargers, and then the Chargers beat them. It's like, you should have taken me out when you had the chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you always go for the win, I feel like.
But I just thought it'd be funny if they both ended in a tie.
Yeah,
Um,
it would
and
be funny.
this popped into my head, but when we were going over the last game, this made me realize I'm really pissed off at the Colts and the Dolphins because, man,
We
like,
fumbled the bag.
like I was rooting for you guys. I'm like, you guys are both looking like you're going to go to the playoffs. I'm like, all right, it's it's the chop pick. That's long over. I'm gonna root for them because it's like it doesn't really matter at this point. But you guys both missed the playoffs, and now it's like middle of the pack fucking first round picks, in which both of them could have been in the top 10 because they were both doing bad to start off the season. And I'm just pissed off that they didn't finish bad. I just wanted them to finish bad.
Yeah, Raiders are. I mean, I feel good for the Raiders. Like, I'm happy for them because of all this shit they dealt with, despite starting off the season really good.
Mhm.
And then they dealt with a lot of like random, like non-football stuff that just kind of put them down. So I'm glad they made the playoffs eventually. I just hate that it was at the expense of the Colts.
I guess we can move on now. Where are we going now?
Okay, let's go over before we get into playoffs. I mean, we can look at a bunch of things. I have a League of the Wings chart if you ever want to look at that. We don't have to talk about it on the podcast, but I was just like looking at like overall records past couple of seasons.
Wait, the
LOTW.
LTW. Oh wow.
Just look at how dominant Brendan and I are.
I hate it. I hate that so much.
We have the same overall record, 23-8 from both seasons.
Dude, I'm so bad. I'm 15-16.
Anyways, let's go over to AFC, NFC.
Wait, whoa. I'm 3-1 in the postseason.
Yeah, technically.
Wait, what do you mean? I won 4. Wait, did I win? I thought I won 4 straight.
No, because you didn't win the championship. I beat you in the championship.
Oh, wait.
It's
Oh,
not.
yeah.
I wasn't counting in the postseason. I'm counting like overall matches, not weeks.
Okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I feel bad for Alicia.
I know. Look how
Okay.
she finished the last in both.
All right.
Also, fuck Josh. Anyways,
Yes, fuck Josh.
AFC, NFC. I tried to predict the seeds and final records for the AFC side. You tried to do NFC. I failed on the AFC side. I got 1 point. And it was that the Broncos would end up being basically a bad team at seed number 13, and I was right.
Ayo,
I was
let's go.
completely wrong about the Bengals. I was completely wrong about the Raiders. If I just swapped Texans and Jaguars, I would have been right there. Jets, I was wrong about. I thought they would be better than they were, but I wasn't too far off on them. Steelers, I was so close on. I was literally half a game off. It was just because of the tie that I was wrong about
Yeah,
them.
you know what? You know what's funny? That screwed me. I was just about to say that with the Lions. That fucking tie screwed me over.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
with the Lions, because I had them 3-14, and that fucking I hate that tie too.
I was basically right about the Chargers being borderline playoff team. I was just like one game off, and they ended up not being seed 8. Colts were. I was wrong about Colts winning the division over the Titans. It was the other way around. I was wrong about the Browns entirely, basically. Dolphins, I was close on wild card spot. I was wrong on prediction. Ravens, I didn't account for all the injuries that would happen, but otherwise I feel like they would have been in that spot, honestly. So I don't regret that pick. Can't really account for injuries like that. And then Bills, I was really close on. Who's the number 2 seed? Wait, if the Bills aren't the number 2 seed. Oh, right. It's the Titans 1 seed, Chiefs 2 seed, Bills 3. So yeah, I just got unlucky there. I was really close on Chiefs and Bills.
I did pretty good on my side. I got 14 total points.
Yeah, you did good. Your only like glaring issue is the Seahawks, but
Yo, I was so fucking off with the Seahawks. I had them at 14-3 when they were 7-9. But yeah, I think I guess Washington was also pretty bad. I had them.
Oh,
at
Cowboys
9.
was also terrible.
Yeah, well, I think that was fueled by the hatred of the Cowboys as well, more so. Bears.
I mean,
was,
sure, but 7-10, come on.
I really, you don't understand how much I hate the Cowboys. I don't want them anywhere near 500. I want them below 500 every single year. I guess I was
You're just trying to manifest it.
Yeah, I gotta manifest it early, baby. But I guess the Bears, I was off too. I had them at 8-9. They ended up 6-7, and I did. I was like 1 or 2 games off from the rest of them, so I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm usually really bad at predicting things,
Yeah, you're really bad.
like your mom. Burn.
Whoa, chill.
I love how you went for fantasy, how detailed you went on the fantasy like tab. Like you ranked all of the scores 1 through.
I mean, I didn't rank them. It was just an automatic rank.
Well, yeah, I meant.
I
Like,
inputted the points, yeah, but then it automatically gives it a rank.
yeah,
It's just highest points.
but you did that 144 times. That's like insane. I wouldn't have.
I mean, across like months. It's not like I
Yeah.
did it all at once.
Well, yeah, but still, I wouldn't have the patience to put it in every single week. I'm gonna screenshot all
I mean,
of it.
it really wasn't that bad. It's just like 8 different results each week.
Take my compliments.
It's like you in Minecraft, you know? It's not like you did all of those Minecraft buildings all at once. It's just like over time, you know?
That is true.
It just starts looking really good.
Yeah. I'm still impressed with this. This is a pretty
Thanks,
good
man.
chart. I'm just glad that I'm not bottom because
Dude, okay, look at, I don't know if you can see me highlighting. Do you see me highlighting?
I can see you at 12.
Okay, I'll show you. I'll do this. Do you see the yellow highlight?
Yeah.
Those were his 2 results in the championships.
That's crazy.
Here were mine. Here down at, I did good the first week, number
Mhm.
19. And then where's my other result?
It's in the depth.
It's like number 83.
Is that your second? That's so funny. R.I.P.
He had the best weeks ever.
Yeah.
7-12. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So unfortunate.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
I'm just happy. I was getting a little too cocky last podcast, saying that I could beat everyone in this match when in reality I would have lost in the matchup. I think both you and Brendan regardless. But I was coming way too close in the championships. I thought I was 60 points ahead of Claudia. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to trade for anyone or do any transactions for this week because I'm pretty sure whoever I play will beat Claudia. But she came pretty close. At one point, she was within like 25 points. I'm like, yikes. I ended up beating her. And I'm just happy that I went in 5th place and not any lower within
Yeah.
that. Because all of the loser bracket people don't know anything about football and weren't trying. Why did you highlight Taylor?
I was just trying to see how often.
Little bitch.
Hey,
Yeah.
chill. Jonathan Taylor was my highest scorer 8 weeks. Cooper Cup was Brendan's high, not Brendan's, Josh's. Yeah, Josh's highest score is 7 weeks.
Damn, that's insane. I wonder what Debo Samuel did for me. He was a beast. I loved him. Oh, it's probably stupid Josh Allen. Fuck Josh Allen. I hate Josh Allen.
Josh Allen was your highest score 6 weeks.
I hate him so much. He's on my fucking team and he did so good, but I hate him. I don't know why. He could have done so much better if it wasn't for those fucking turnovers. We go over the awards later in football, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll wait. I mean, you can kind of see like,
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not many we're gonna
Yeah.
get right, but I think we'll both get like one right.
I
Probably.
think so too.
I think TJ is the obvious pick. So I
Are you
think you got that
sure
one.
Fletcher Cox or Darius Leonard's not making it?
Fletcher Cox. Darius Leonard should be in the conversation though.
Yeah. He's a little
He
bitch boy.
he led the league in takeaways.
I love Leo the cat. But let's go over to the wild card, super wild card weekend. First match, or I guess we should explain the points. There's
Yeah,
100
point system. There's
Yeah.
120 points available across 6 different matchups. If you guess the winner correctly of Bengals of any of the matchups, I don't know why I was going over Bengals. If you guess the winner of each matchup, you get 10 points each. And then for the final score, because it's like so difficult to actually guess a team's final score, I was a bit lenient on this. So if you get it exactly right, it's 5. But if you look at the notes, 3 points if the score is only 1 point off of your prediction, and then 1 point if the score is 2 to 3 points off of your prediction. Does that make sense?
I like that, yeah. Or I like that version a lot better because I feel like it's almost impossible to guess exactly
It
the
is.
same amount of points. And I think
I
we
think
only
it
did
happened like once last year.
Yeah, it was crazy. But the first matchup is Cincinnati Bengals versus Las Vegas Raiders. I have the Bengals winning 37-27. I think this is going to be a relatively high scoring matchup. So I feel like week in and week out, I feel like Bengals and Raiders matchups or games throughout the year or season have been relatively high week in and week out. So I just feel like it's going to be at least massive amount of points. I don't think the Bengals, I think I'm being a little bit too generous with the 10-point lead. I can see it being within 3 points as well. And yeah, I just think this is going to be a relatively close game. That the Bengals, honestly, this was kind of a coin flip because sometimes Bengals are super good and beating the Chiefs, but other weeks are doing super bad. And I feel like that's how Raiders have been performing throughout this week or throughout this season as well. So that's why I have the
Right.
Bengals. And I love Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
We have a pretty similar predicted outcome. I think I have the Bengals a bit favored a little bit more by like 3 points only. Yeah, 13-point win over the Raiders as far as deficit goes. I don't think Raiders offense I'm just not convinced by. I feel now that Darren Waller's back, I think that should be enough to elevate them, but he hasn't been like used as much. Hunter Renfrow is a beast. I think he'll definitely do well. Josh Jacobs has been really good against certain teams, but I don't think he's going to find that same success against the Bengals. And also, I think he's like every now and then getting like kind of injured. So I don't know. I don't know where his health is at going into this game. Yeah, I think Bengals will just like give him a lot of trouble. And Joe Burrow just looks like at the top of his game, so that offense is just going to go crazy. Probably early. If it's not early, then I don't think Bengals win. Honestly, I feel like Bengals have to get off to a hot start to like really do well. But if Raiders can hold them off for a quarter, maybe a quarter and a half, then maybe they have a chance.
Yeah, I just really like how Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Burrow all have been playing on that offense. It's just been electrifying and really exciting to see.
Yeah.
I feel like Jamar Chase, week in, week out, can easily score 2 touchdowns, 150 yards, and 10 receptions in any given week. And he's done it multiple times this year, I feel. So they can get electrifying. And I agree with everything that you said as well. And then you got New England Patriots versus Buffalo Bills. I have the New England Patriots winning 17-10. I feel like the past couple games, I forget the last game between the Patriots and Bills, but I feel like it was a relatively low scoring game. And the first one definitely was because that was when it was snowing and super windy. And when Mac Jones only threw for 3 passes. So that definitely was low scoring, but I feel like this is going to be generally low scoring, and it's going to come down to the last drive or two to see if the Patriots can stop the Bills from driving and scoring. But I just feel like this is going to be a snug fest, and I just think Josh Allen will be stopped with how many turnovers he's been committing the past few weeks. I just don't think he's going to be able to not do that.
We had the same final score for the Bills, but I think Bills. Oh wait, you did it opposite though.
Oh,
So
Oh.
never mind. We didn't.
sorry, my bad.
We didn't have the same. Oh, I forgot to do this one.
I wasn't. Wait. Let me just double check. Wait, yeah, I accidentally did that for the. Hold on. I have to fix the Eagle score too, because I don't know why, but my brain did something.
You did for
weird.
that one as well. Okay, all the rest are good. Anyways,
Yeah, for some reason my brain was like, the team that I have winning goes first.
yeah.
Like
No,
this
that makes
random.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have basically a similar outcome. Again, a defensive battle. We just have it going different ways. I think Josh Allen will probably turn over the ball, but I just don't really have the faith in like a Mac Jones led team to be able to convert off of that against the Bills. The Bills defense is not a joke, you know. Mac Jones is like a decent quarterback, but I just don't think he's at a point where he's going to be winning playoff games. I think it'll be a learning experience. Still, that running game is going to be enough to get them like 14 points, I could imagine. Their running game has been like really consistent. They've been really good once they are in the red zone, but I think Bills are going to make them struggle to even get in the red zone for like most of the game. And maybe one goal line stop, possibly. I think both of these teams' defenses are like some of the best in the league, so it's going to be a fun game to watch if you like a defensive game. But yeah, I think I just have Bills just because I like the offense more than I like the Patriots offense, and I think the defenses match up pretty equally. So
I agree, and I guess the Patriots offense and some of the defense are mostly rookies and relatively new guys with not much playoff experience. The coaching staff has a shit ton of experience in the playoffs and Super Bowls, obviously, but not much. So the playoffs or the players don't have that much playoff experience, and in that regard, the Bills have the edge because I feel like they've been in the playoffs the past few years.
yeah, they're going to be playing with more of a chip on their shoulder. I feel like, you know, being a team that had more recently been in the playoffs, but being so close to a Super Bowl but not making it, and they're at home. I feel like home field advantage is so important.
Yeah,
So,
they have more experience and more of the advantage going their way.
As long as the weather is in their favor, where Patriots can't just like run it all over them and Josh Allen can't throw, I feel like that's the only scenario where I could see Patriots winning because that's how they won that one game. But then when the conditions were in the Bills' favor, Bills ran over them. So I don't think they're going to run over them necessarily, but they'll win.
Yeah,
as long as conditions are favorable.
And then we got Chiefs versus Steelers. I have the Chiefs winning 38-13, just because I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I just feel like this is one of the games where it's going to be more of a blowout. 'Cause I feel like at least one or two, maybe even 3 games out of a playoff weekend are always blowouts, or you at least have like 1 or 2 blowouts per playoffs, at least for the first 2 rounds, just because of Chiefs are 2nd seed, Steelers are 7th seed, just that disparity and different matchups. It's already just favor more to the higher seed, home field advantage, and they're just a better team for getting a higher seed. So it's going to see some of these more blowout fashion games occur. And I just think this is going to be one of them, because I just don't think Steelers, like you said earlier, are a wild card ready playoff team, but I just don't think they're going to be able to have the strength to beat the Chiefs. And I just think the Chiefs are going to want to make a statement, especially for how they started off the season. They want to start off the playoffs strong to make a stronger statement than they did at the beginning of the season.
I messed up.
Yeah, you fucking.
I did the same thing. I wonder if I did that for the others.
Did you?
No. So we both have Steelers at 13, just because that offense is dreadful. But
Yeah.
and the Chiefs defense has been looking so good, so I don't see them doing that well. But honestly, I think Steelers defense has really stiffened up and will probably give Chiefs a hard time. Kind of like how the Broncos did against the Chiefs, which was also 28 points, letting up 28 points to the Chiefs at least. So I think that's where my head's at as far as the 28-13 score. You have them much more favorably though, which I could see a bigger blowout happening, but I don't know, I think it's going to be like a slow game, if that makes sense, for the most part, and then Chiefs will like easily pull ahead towards the end. Like Chiefs will have a lead, I think, the whole game, but then they'll like make it a 2-score lead late in the game to seal it. That's kind of how I see it happening.
I can
But
also see that as well.
yeah, I think Steelers will struggle, whereas like Chiefs will just kind of ride their lead for most of the game. Just never really pull like significantly ahead though.
I guess we can go on to the next game. Eagles versus Buccaneers, or I guess Buccaneers versus Eagles. Second seed Buccaneers versus 7th seed Eagles. I have the Eagles winning 27-23. I think this is going to be a slugfest. I don't know if I fully agree with the Eagles, but I think this is going to be a relatively close game nonetheless, even though it has a big disparity. And I just think the Eagles are going to be able to keep pace with the Bucs at least. I don't think they're going to necessarily win, but I think they're going to at least have the power to make it a close game. And I just really hope that and then the only reason, or the only way that I see the Eagles winning in this game is if they start off early, get a few touchdowns, and finish in the second half. If we play like we've been playing the past 3 to 4 games, then we're definitely not going to win this, because we've been starting off super slow in the first half and really good in the second half. But I just feel like the Bucs are too good, and the Bucs can easily carry it away in the first half if we do not do good. Whereas some of these bad teams, we were able to keep them to low points and then come back in the second half and dominate them. But I just think we have to keep them to at least low scoring games so we can catch up in the second half. It can't get too carried away, and that's how we win. And to run the ball as well.
I like that analysis.
Thank you.
I have Buccaneers 35-20.
You bitch.
I just don't really trust the Eagles defense too much to take care of a really good team. Obviously, Buccaneers will be shorthanded without Leonard Fournette and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown. But Tom Brady has proven over the past couple of weeks that he doesn't necessarily need those pieces. He can make things work out regardless. Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns against the Panthers the other day. And I mean, that cornerback on the Panthers is like not a joke, you know. Like Panthers are still able to be competitive on the defensive side, but they dropped 40 on them. Eagles, I think, will run really well against the Buccaneers compared to how teams have been running against the Buccaneers, which is not very successfully. I think that would be a big takeaway. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Eagles will be able to convert much of their third downs. I feel like Buccaneers are really good at that, making sure that they stiffen up on third downs, fourth downs, all that stuff. So Eagles are going to have to fight for like any sort of points they get, whereas Buccaneers, you know, they've been in these situations too many times before. I feel like they'll take care of business.
I want it to be at least a close game, man. Just make it at least somewhat close.
It probably will. It'll probably be like last year where Buccaneers played Washington, and Washington was their like hardest opponent, you know. It's just like for some random reason, Eagles are give them a hard time, then Buccaneers like sweep to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just want it to be at least entertaining and not a blowout. But
okay, let's be entertaining for the first 3 quarters.
No, I want the Eagles fashioned game. I want it to come down to the last second unnecessarily. I want the Eagles to mess up and could have blown out the Buccaneers, but they made too many mistakes and shot themselves in the foot, and it comes down to the last second Jake Elliott field goal that wins the game, and we go on to the divisional round, and then we beat the Cowboys in the divisional round somehow. Then we go to the championship. We beat the Packers 35-20, like your score with the Bucs Eagles, show you who's real boss and go into the Super Bowl and beat the Chiefs Thanks to Andy Reid, our old head coach.
I just made a little prediction to the side as well as a half by half score. So first half it'll be Eagles 17, Buccaneers 0. Second half 35, Eagles 3 for a grand total of 35-20.
I hate that. I hate that so much.
Philadelphia will be going crazy.
I would, if this comes true, I don't think I can be your friend. I think I have to like leave this podcast if this comes true. It's just gonna be you on your own every week, week in and week out. It's
That'll
the
be fun.
title show. Hey. But 49ers versus Cowboys. I have 49ers winning 33-31. This is going to be a very high scoring game. I don't think that 49ers can keep pace with the Cowboys. The 49ers have to have a very offensive game because I don't think that defense can stop the Cowboys at the pace that they're on. I don't know. I hope they prove me wrong and it's going to be a blowout by the 49ers, but I just want the Cowboys to be a first round exit so they don't get fucking cocky. One playoff game and they win. Oh, thank God you have the 49ers.
I also have the 49ers.
Yeah.
I actually think 49ers will do better against I think 49ers defense will be better than you think they will. I think Cowboys will have a lot of yards for the most part, but I think 49ers will be able to stiffen up in the red zone and stuff like that and like hold them Cowboys to a field goal, maybe actually like maybe Cowboys will get too ambitious, go for some fourth downs in the red zone and then turn the ball over on downs. I think Cowboys will just kind of get unlucky, if that's not exactly the right word, but yeah, I think 49ers will be really good against like those ambitious attempts that the Cowboys will probably do. I think Cowboys are probably going to be the team. Haven't really been in the playoffs in a while. They're going to really want to just try and like go for anything they can, and it's just not going to work out too well. Still 24 points is no laughing matter, but I feel like I have high expectations for the 49ers offense. Cowboys defense is not bad. It's just, I don't know. 49ers offense has looked pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think George Kittle will put up 2 touchdowns on them.
Hey, yo, let's go, Kittle. Let's go, our boy Kittle. He's going to have 10 receptions, 150 yards as well. He's going to have his day of game. He's going to have the game-winning touchdown. It's going to come last second, and 49ers, he's going to catch it and then something like this. It's going to be
Wait, if Cowboys won the division this year, does that mean Eagles will win next year?
Yeah.
Or will it have to be Washington or Giants?
Yeah, it's going to be the Eagles. I don't think Washington's going to do it again, or the Giants. But that's crazy. That I was thinking about the other day. That's like a fucking another year that we don't have back-to-back. Since we haven't had back-to-back division winners since 2004 when the Eagles did it. Eagles did it 4 times in a row. They won 4 consecutive division in a row, which is crazy. That's just Andy Reid for you. We can go on to...
Don't even get me started on the Colts. How many back-to-backs we've had?
That's so funny.
Man. The glory days are gone.
Did I tell you? I think I had this one thing where Colts with Andrew Luck, I was rooting for the Colts because they won. I think they won a playoff game. Then they lost the next. Then they won 2 playoff games in a row. And then the next year they won 3 playoff games. Or they went like wild card, next year divisional, and then the next year after that they went to the championship. So they were like upgrading. I'm like, this is the Colts here to go to the Super Bowl because they went to the championships last year, but they didn't end up doing that. I think they went to like another championship or something like that. That was so sad.
Yeah.
But we got...
how it goes. Let's see. I'm looking at okay, we won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row during Peyton Manning's prime, 2003 to 2007.
What about Andrew Luck's prime?
Andrew Luck's, we had a couple back-to-back. No, just with the one back-to-back with Andrew Luck.
Burt.
That was 2013 and 2014.
I wish the Colts were that good again. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Let's go to the last game. Rams versus Cardinals. I got the Rams winning 13-7. Honestly, I can also see the Cardinals winning. This was a coin flip. because I feel like they've been kind of on the same pace where the Rams looked really good, but then they had the 0-4 or 1-3 November, which looked really bad, but then looked really good after that. And Cardinals kind of had the same, not in a singular month, but they had like a couple of back-to-back bad games. I mean, they lost to the Lions. They've had close games to many teams that they shouldn't have close games to. So I feel like both have been kind of similar in the fact that they look really good, but then shaky on others. And this is going to be a very defensive game, I believe, as well. I think it's going to be coming down to the last drive, last field goal, last whatever. And that doesn't look like you have the same as me, does it?
No, I absolutely disagree with the fact that it'll be that low scoring. Their last two matchups went Cardinals 37-20 and then Rams 30-23.
Yeah.
History doesn't really prove your case, but defenses are good enough to do that, but the offenses are just like so stacked. I can't see how. I mean, you're basically saying only 2 touchdowns happen, unless it's 2 touchdowns from the Rams, but one is a missed extra point. Regardless, I can't see a game between these two teams where there's not more than 3 touchdowns. Like,
I'm trusting my gut, baby. You just gotta trust the gut. The gut's telling me it's gonna be a defensive game, baby.
these two teams are ridiculously high scoring, so they've both had their fair share of like weird mishaps. Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray have not been looking great to end the season. To start the season, they were like MVP candidates. Now they're like, still good, just not like looking like MVP level. So I don't know. It's gonna be weird. I think I could see the result happen for either of them. I think it could go either way between Rams and Cardinals, but one of them is gonna have to look like an MVP candidate between Cardinals and Matthew Stafford.
I can see that too, I guess.
Kyler Murray and Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
So I think what really came down to for me to pick Rams with a 4-point favorite is just defense.
Yeah.
Like still they're letting up 27 points, which is nothing like amazing, but it'll be enough just so the Rams can scrape it out. Why are you typing all this?
I can see it. I can see that too. You don't need to be concerned with the chat. I just thought it was funny. But yeah, I can see that too, but I don't know why, but my gut's just telling me that this is going to be a more defensive game. I just think it's going to be at least coming down to a defensive turnover that changes the game at least. Something with the defense. I don't know what my gut's telling me, but for some reason I'm feeling something defensive happens this game. And then do you have any more charts to go over, or should we just quickly do the fantasy?
You want to go over fantasy?
Yeah, because I usually like read over the transaction. Only one transaction happened with Brendan adding Chase Claypool and then dropping Evan McPherson. That was only transaction that happened before the championship weekend, and that happened Thursday, January 6th, 5:43. So that happened after we recorded. So
you also got Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I think we said that within the podcast.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah. So I remember going over the Josh Allen stuff and the Joe Burrow stuff with
Yeah.
But if you want to go over other stuff too, like speak on that more.
He had his best 2 weeks,
Mhm.
almost of the whole season. Obviously, I think maybe like one result was better, but yeah, he had the right roster to end the season, whereas my roster. I mean, you think about how bad Colts were in the last 2 weeks and how Jonathan Taylor couldn't get anything done. Like, it was just the wrong week.
Yeah.
Wrong couple of weeks. DeAndre Swift fighting through an injury. Najee Harris out for half of the last game against Baltimore. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown came in clutch for me. Justin Jefferson did. George Kittle, terrible last 2 games. I don't know what happened there. Actually, last 3. He was on a rampage at one point.
Yeah.
And then last 3 games, was like nothing. So
it's crazy with Brendan because I'm on the scoreboard and you can see like the top 3 performers in the last 2 weeks for like everyone. And Brendan, he has Jamar Chase, number 1. He had 53.48 in our fantasy league. But
that's when I knew he would win. Honestly, as soon as that happened, I was like, he won.
That's like one game too. That wasn't even like both the games. And then Rashad, he also picked up Rashad Penny, which was a beautiful pickup. But he didn't put him week 1. He put him in the second week. But if you would have put him back to back, I'm pretty sure he would have had, yeah, he would have had like 58 total points for that week. And then
Yeah, he would have gone 300.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. I don't think we had anyone go over 300 last year in the playoffs. So he would have been the first 300 player. I mean, we did change the.
I'm sure we
scoring
did
back.
because the scoring is a lot less now, but I can look actually. Let's find out. Last year in the scoreboard. Oh, I only got to 289 against you.
Yeah,
It was 289 to 239.
I did so bad. I was so
Round 1 though. Oh yeah, I had 320 the round
Oh,
1
damn,
against
never
Sophia.
mind.
I just
That's insane. Wait, I do vaguely remember that. I guess we did go, or you did go through it. You destroyed those playoffs. You had 5. No, you did have like 600 points.
Dude, I forgot about my roster. It was so stacked.
What was your roster?
Aaron Rodgers, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley in his prime, Robert Tonyan in his prime, Tyler Lockett. Steelers defense was not great to end the year. Young Hui Koo.
Yo, you know who gave you?
I
those
also
2
had Chris Carson and Keenan Allen.
Yeah. You know who gave you some of those players? Me, bitch, with Josh Jacobs and Calvin Ridley.
That's true. Also, I also had Kyler Murray, who was good every now and then. Christian McCaffrey was my number 1 pick. I didn't even get to use him in the playoffs, though.
That's so funny.
I'm surprised I did that well, considering Christian McCaffrey was my number 1 pick.
Yeah, and I don't think Josh Jacobs and Calvin Ridley did that well for you, at least in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, they did.
Oh, they did? Did I? Oh my God, I can't believe.
At least in my 320 performance, Calvin Ridley had 32.3 points.
Damn, what the fuck? I had no idea.
This was a week 15. This was against Tampa Bay. He had 10 catches, 163 yards, a touchdown off of 14 targets.
Damn, that's insane. I can't believe I gave him to you. I don't even remember what I got in return. It was probably something stupid. Some dumbass thing. But yeah, I got into 5th place as I should have gotten. I beat Claudia 212 to 168, which is not really that impressive because she wasn't really trying. She didn't even look the first week. I don't think she would have looked the second week either, so I should have won. My players played really good, but I definitely wouldn't have won 3rd place, or I would have been 4th, or I guess I would have been 1st or 2nd if I was in the winners bracket because I would have won the 1st round, but I don't really have much to say. We went for 2 hours. We went for so long. That was so fucking long. I don't think throughout this past year and a half, we haven't went over 2 hours before. Not even when I was doing it by myself with the interviews and stuff. I haven't reached 2 hours.
That is not true. That is a lie.
Well,
There was
I mean,
one night. There was one night we went for 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I split that up into 2, but I don't think I'm gonna split this up into 2. It's going to be like 1 part.
We had a lot to go over. I mean, I've been mulling about the Colts for a while. I've been looking at, that Chiefs graphic.
Yeah. Did we go over all the graphics that you wanted to, that you were going finagling with?
I mean, there was if you want to look at the chart of our predictions.
Oh yeah,
I introduced that a while ago, but if you look at that, how it panned out.
Yeah, I did really good week 12, and now, boy, that's where I was.
Yeah, you really picked it up.
Yeah, dude, I haven't went over under 0.600 since week 13. That's insane. I haven't went below 500 once this year. That's crazy. Oh, I guess you haven't either. Damn, we're really good at guessing, or not guessing, but
well, I mean, this is like overall.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, there were weeks we were under 0.500 on that week, but overall we weren't.
Yeah.
So that first week you went 8-8, and that's where you were at 0.500. But then, man, week 2 you stepped it up.
Yeah. I haven't looked back since. But you started off really hot too. You were 0.6.
That was so good.
Yeah. You were so fucking good. And then what happened to you?
I was so good.
Ever since that, you just like fucking tagged.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. From week 1 to week 2. Oh my gosh. My first 2 weeks were so good.
Yeah,
And I just whoosh.
that's so fucking funny.
And we started talking about it. As soon as we started talking about it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick it up. And then starting in week 13, I started inching my way back up.
That's so fucking funny. But it wasn't enough because I'm superior.
Wasn't.
But yeah.
Yeah. I ended up at 0.581. You ended up at 0.629.
Yeah.
Both worse than what we were last year. Last year was less volatile.
Crikey, mates. All right, I guess we
Crikey.
should. I guess we should end it here.
Yeah, we should definitely end it.
We've been talking for too long. This is going to be a fucking bitch too. I fucking did the Kids with Divorce podcast earlier today
No.
as well. That was an hour podcast as well.
Right when school's starting.
Yeah.
Whew.
I haven't even looked at Canvas yet.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't have a class today, right?
Yeah. Did you
I
have a
did.
class today?
I had pickleball.
How did that even fucking work?
We just watched some pickleball highlights and then went over syllabus.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you have wait, I didn't even real is it like professional? Like is there professional pickleball?
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah.
But it's like fringe. It's like professional cornhole, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you end up getting COVID?
No.
Ayo.
So far so good.
Is everyone in the house okay?
I mean, everyone's still wearing masks around each other, and like my parents are like staying in their bedroom the whole time. But I feel like everyone's been fine. I mean, there was one night I made dinner for everyone with my brother. Usually my parents were well enough to at least make dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and then we would just like eat separately. But there was one night.
That was nice. Was it just your mom and dad that got COVID?
Yeah,
I never ended the recording.
I know.
I got
I'm also boosted, so
yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's possible I got it. I just like have not been feeling symptoms.
Mhm. Well, that's good at least.
But my brother hasn't been feeling symptoms and he's not boosted, so
That's also
I've
good.
been just as careful as him.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording now. Bye. Peace.